Most gardeners completely misunderstand what's happening under the soil, and it's costing them big time. They dump scraps on top, overmix compost, or till constantly, thinking more action equals more fertility. The result? Compacted soil, stressed plants, uneven moisture, and a lot of wasted energy. If you want soil that works for you instead of against you, you need to understand the hierarchy that exists in your worm population. And yes, that's right, worms operate in a structured microcommunity, and respecting it is the fastest route to consistent, nutrient-dense soil. Before we go deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button because everything here is field-tested, not theory. Let's start with the basics. Worms are not a uniform workforce. They are stratified by age, size, reproductive stage, and habitat preference. In a healthy raised bed or backyard system, mature breeders occupy the mid-layer where moisture and temperature are stable, juveniles stay near decomposing organic matter, and hatchlings cluster in the fine, microbially rich zones. If you're constantly turning your bed or piling fresh scraps too thick, you collapse these zones. You end up with stressed worms, patchy nutrient distribution, and soil that can't retain water efficiently. I've seen it in my 4x8 raised beds when I first started experimenting with minimal disturbance methods. Beds I left alone, except for thin surface feeding, immediately showed more uniform worm activity and healthier plant growth. Temperature control is critical. Red wigglers perform best between 55 and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Above 85, reproduction slows. Above 95, mortality increases. On one side of my beds, I applied 4 inches of fresh grass clippings without mixing, while the other side received a 1-inch layer of shredded leaves and aged compost at roughly a 3-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio. Within 3 weeks, the thick grass layer overheated, compaction increased, and worm activity dropped. The balanced side thrived with consistent castings and active tunnels. The takeaway is moderation: apply organic matter in thin layers, cover lightly with mulch to buffer temperature swings, and let the worms redistribute it naturally. Now ratios matter in a typical 8 cubic foot raised bed. I aim for 1/3 compost, 1/3 aeration material like pumice or coarse perlite, and 1/3 topsoil or cocoa coir blend. Into that, I integrate about 10 to 15% worm castings by volume, just under 1 cubic foot in an 8 cubic foot bed. More than 20% can create overly dense conditions that impede aeration. For container systems like 5-gallon grow bags for tomatoes or peppers, I use 70% cocoa coir, 20% compost, and 10% worm castings. That small addition dramatically improves moisture retention and microbial diversity. For gardeners who aren't producing their own castings yet, I've consistently used Vermis Terra earthworm castings in both beds and container mixes. They're fine-textured, low moisture, and boost microbial activity without burning plants. The link to check it out is in the description, and it's especially useful as a supplement while your own worm population establishes. Let's talk about reproduction and density. Overcrowding slows reproduction and stresses worms. In bins or small beds, exceeding roughly 1 pound of worms per square foot creates competition zones that reduce efficiency. In larger beds, the problem manifests as uneven casting distribution and patchy fertility. Trench feeding is a better strategy than burying scraps randomly. Dig a shallow trench about 3 inches deep along one side of the bed, layer in chopped kitchen waste, and lightly cover. Rotate feeding zones every week or 2. This encourages worm movement across the bed and prevents overpopulation in a single zone. The result is consistent, self-reinforcing fertility. Water and moisture gradients are often ignored, but they define the worm hierarchy. Top mulch layers stay slightly moist, mid-zone remains like a wrung-out sponge, and the bottom layer retains moisture longer. Breeding worms prefer mid-zone stability, juveniles stick near food, and hatchlings need fine microbially active substrates. Overwater or dry out your bed, and the population migrates or shrinks. In my experiments, beds amended with 15% castings retained moisture 20 to 30% longer between irrigations than those without. That's real-world performance, not marketing fluff. Another advantage of castings is the natural presence of plant growth hormones like auxins and cytokinins. When transplanting peppers, I add roughly half a cup of castings directly into the planting hole and lightly dust the root ball. Early root establishment improves noticeably, and transplant shock is reduced. Worm castings also improve soil aggregation, aeration, and microbial balance, all of which support healthy roots and consistent nutrient uptake. But they are not a substitute for proper macronutrient balance. Deficiencies in phosphorus or potassium must still be addressed. Castings amplify what's present rather than replace missing elements. Hydroponic adjacent growers can benefit too. Worm tea brewed with a cup of castings in 5 gallons of dechlorinated water and aerated with a tablespoon of molasses for 24 hours adds microbial diversity around roots. Apply as a root drench or dilute 1:1 for foliar feeding. I never brew beyond 36 hours because microbial balance shifts quickly. Finally, let's address the no-till question. I used to lightly till every spring. Once I stopped, shifted to surface composting with consistent mulch and fed worms moderately, soil structure improved in a single season. Tomato yields increased by around 15%, fruit cracking declined, and flavor improved. Worm tunnels alone aerated the soil, improved infiltration, and supported microbial activity. Minimal disturbance allows the micro-community to self-organize, which is far more efficient than mechanical manipulation. The bottom line is that worms respond dynamically to their environment. Stable food input, proper moisture gradients, temperature control, and minimal disturbance allow the micro-community to thrive. The result is soil that holds water, supports robust roots, cycles nutrients efficiently, and consistently produces denser, more flavorful crops. Whether in raised beds, containers, or hydroponic hybrids, respecting this hierarchy makes your garden self-reinforcing. If you found this kind of practical, experience-driven insight valuable, subscribe to the Farm Logic channel and share this video with another serious gardener. Understanding the life beneath our feet is the quickest path to growing better food, improving soil health, and cutting back on wasted effort. And don't forget to check the description for the Vermis Terra earthworm castings I mentioned. They're a reliable supplement while you build your own worm-powered soil system. Work with the worms, not against them, and your garden will reward you season after season.